Scotty, to you.
Everyone's a bit eager this morning. We've just had a long Anzac ceremony beforehand. Everyone just wanted to get started after that.
So away we go. Lily Pearce is in the ruck for Collingwood, but Essendon with first possession out of the middle of the ground. Molan just shooting the handball out. And these sides pretty much unrecognisable to the teams that ran out last week. Multiple changes everywhere and jumper number changes too, as Ramsdale trying to get that kick away for Collingwood, having to go back in again. Good contest, early stages. And the umpire will toss the ball up. So if you're watching and you see Collingwood, you think, what are all these jumper numbers? They've all changed on us, Gemma.
Yeah, all of them are AFLW listed players, so the numbers you're used to seeing those players in, they're not wearing today. But if you look in the VFL app, they're all right in there. So if you're wondering who certain numbers are, just head onto the app and you'll be able to see.
Well, as pushing into the middle of the ground go the Pies, handball coming out. So wearing 39 is Morris Dalton. We'll try and help you with these as they work their way inside 50. Morris Dalton again, got a couple to beat, just had to flip the handball out. Did a good job of that in the end. Ramos wrapped up in the tackle. The umpire will call for a ball up.
Got a good contingent of Bombers fans behind us as well, Pete, which should make for some good watching throughout the day.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I think these things get close. There's the handball out. Radford. Kick is a good one. They worked Jordan. Here on centre wing, Victoria Park off on the lead, takes a strong mark. Working there against Charlotte Taylor. Just told to get back on the mark as Goff's kick high towards the 50. Just off a step is Jordan, just sending that towards the behind line. Is it going to go over? It will. It's going to be escorted over by Hannah Dyson. We'll have it tossed in.
So one to watch today, Pete, for the Pies is Tani White, who's wearing the number 66 today, different to her usual 29, but she's playing as an inside midfielder, so that looks like a positional change that they're testing out at VFLW level before the AFLW season starts this year, so that's an exciting watch.
So 9 AFLW listed players for the Pies today, 6 for Essendon. As this ball hands a Porter, wrapped up in the tackle. It's a good contest. Well, this ball tossed up. As I mentioned, Gemma, wholesale changes really for both teams, but in particular for Collingwood. Whole host, as you say, of those AFLW players coming into the lineup.
Yeah, so a whole bunch of Collingwood's AFLW list has just spent the last couple of weeks in the US doing some high-performance training. So with a bunch of them back in Australia now, I think they just want to play a bit of footy. So they've all come in to play today. And Tani is definitely one of those players who's been in the US training. So she's one that I'm really excited to see what she can do this year in her second year at the Pies.
Sansonetti kicks inside 50. Good delivery of the footy from the Pies going forward. They've worked it out nicely, and Eliza James has it. We'll just kick long to the top of the goal square. 2-on-1. Plenty of Bomber numbers here. Just taking that handball out is Clark. Had to go back and get it again. Near the boundary line as she's on the end of the handball. Well done, Clark there. Second and third efforts. Kick outside 50 is okay. Players diving in on top. The umpire should call a stop to this.
Eliza James probably just took a little bit too long there to get rid of the footy. White had worked herself into the pocket all on her own, but by the time James had decided to move the ball on, she'd been covered. So just making those faster decisions, I think, for the Pies will help them.
There is Tani White just getting hands to it and kicking inside 50. Got some numbers here, the Pies. Good wrap up in the tackle, but it wasn't clean. And Porter, the shot at goal, is just off target.
It looks like Alex Morecambe of the Bombers has been tasked with Alana Porter in that Bombers back half, which is going to be an interesting watch today because we know the speed that Alana Porter has. We saw some highlights of it on the VFL social media throughout the week as well, but Alex Morecambe is a very smart player, so it's kind of going to be that battle between physical ability and footy smarts and seeing how that plays out.
So Anthony here for the Pies, just stopping another Bomber attack forwards. Clark, handball back into a dangerous position. Morecambe, and those players that Gemma mentioned, Robinson, kick on the 45 is a dangerous one. It's the initial pack. Radford has now got 3 Pies to beat. Not going to win in that situation, I would have thought. Weeks to Peterson now. Cross to Walsh. And the kick is a good one. Just take a little bit of time here. Charlotte Taylor's got it. You can see there's a free player up the ground. The Bombers were aware of it though. Coming across Bateman for the Bombers. Getting that hand in just at the crucial moment. Forwards. We've got two forwards playing today. That's Sarah, whose kick up the line is a good one. Good mark. Kasopoulos has got it.
That was another example of the Pies just taking too long to make that decision going forward, allowing the Bombers defenders to come in and impact.
Again, just struggling to get it forward of centre, the Bombers at the moment. Working through is Dyke. Across to Porter. Dyke again, just can't break clear. And we'll have this ball tossed in.
I really like the way that Matilda Dyke, number 16 for the Bombers, is being used in the ruck. She was a supporting character essentially for Steph Wales in the ruck in the AFLW last season. I like what Dyke offers at ground level, so she brings that extra midfielder type of performance as well. So really looking forward. I know that Lily Pearce has been dominating hit-outs all year, and she probably will again win the hit-outs today, but I think Dyke will impact around the ground a lot more.
Just helps with that depth if you can get it as Porter. Handball across, space, and now the skipper, Chaston of the Bombers, just trying to send them forward. That is a strong mark though. Seen a couple of them already. Davidge takes it, wants to go on, kicks up to centre half forwards. There was a long lead and a push out at the end. Tassiopoulos, who's playing her first game today. The kick is good. Excellent. Molan's on the end of it, and a chance to set up the first goal for the Bombers.
It was just really smart movement, willingness to cut back into the middle of the ground to open up that whole 50 for Molan to lead into. Molan, who played predominantly as a centre-half back last year, Sharia O'Neill has moved her into the forward line, and see what the result is here.
Kick is good. Haven't had many opportunities inside 50 in the first 7 minutes, but they're making the most of that. Molan's first, and the first for the Bombers.
Pete, I've had the privilege of calling the Bombers a few times already this year, and what we've seen from them generally early in games has been an absolute dominance in terms of territory, but really poor conversion off the back of it. This feels like the opposite has started. They haven't really had that territory, as you've said, but they've been able to be effective once they have gone in. So that's something that the Pies, I think, need to be hyper-focused of, and not allowing so much space in the Bombers' forward 50, because Molan does have that height and that physicality to really outmuscle a direct opponent. At the moment, it's Erica Fowler, who's a bit more slight.
It's a ball back in the middle. No, Georgia Nanscorn today for the Bombers being rested or managed.
You're devastated about that.
I am very much so. Bateman taking the mark, as I'm sure a few fans coming to the ground would be slightly as well, but obviously a long campaign to come as Huggard on the end of it here for Essendon. The kick's going to beat the initial pack. Morecambe just shooting that handball out. It wasn't clean and should have another stoppage. It's Matilda Dyke trying to get away there. Mentioned too, Meg Ryan for the Pies, unavailable for this clash this morning. So the skipper is out. But a couple of members of the leadership team missing from the side, but still got plenty of great players as Walsh for Collingwood. Back into the middle of Victoria Park. Oh, it's a great bump on. Here's Robinson inside 50, superb. Oh, the movement of the footy, that was great to watch. Davidge is on the end of this one.
El Chaston take a bow. They just knew if they took possession of the footy, there's a 50 here. Being moved to the goal line.
We're going to make that an absolute certainty now. But I would suspect that Sherry O'Neill will be replaying that one during the week.
Absolutely, as probably will I.
Yes, the kick goes. Another one on the board for the Bombers. And may even get a mention on the State of Play podcast during the week.
Which I was called out for getting something wrong on the podcast last week, fairly enough too. I had it in my head that Essendon hadn't won a game coming into last week. They had, so now they've won 2 and drawn 1, so that's my mistake. But they have really started to hum the past few weeks, the Bombers. They look we're getting more of that ball movement, that selfless sort of ball movement, tapping it on rather than taking possession. And now we're seeing Ava Jordan start at this centre bounce, which is new as well. We typically see her in deep in the forward line, so she's going head-to-head with Tani White here, which is an interesting watch.
White gets the tap down. Pies with first possession. Anthony just lost a handle on the footy. Hard stuff from Morecambe again, being good in these early stages. And we'll have the ball thrown up. I was going to say there, Gemma, talking about the State of Play podcast, that you'd have plenty of time to talk about that, considering your co-host and his lack of output. But just acres of space just to fill there. I don't know how you do it each and every week as James. Kick inside 50. It's a wide open goal square. Just good body work from the Pies, and this may work out for them as Day trying to go around the body. It bounces, and Justin Will's escorted over the line.
Nell Morris-Dalton had created so much time and space for herself to actually turn and take that shot herself. I respect players who want to bring their teammates in and do that, but you've also got to have the ability to acknowledge that you're the person to take that responsibility on too. So a little bit of dysfunction in the Pies' front half at the moment, but they'll definitely settle.
Yeah, as this contest goes along, right near the interchange benches here for these two teams, it rolls over. You can see how hard, tough this contest is right now. I hope this continues across the 4 quarters because it's going to make it exciting.
Yeah, so Ava Jordan, I think, has just been sent to run with Tani White by the Bombers coaching staff, so we'll see how that evolves.
There's a tap down. Richardson with that front position. Tackling pressure. There's a player down for Collingwood. A player down.
Oh,
it looks like Francis Walsh just behind play. Play continues, though, as the Bombers look to move forward. Walsh hasn't moved yet, Gemma, and I think we might have a stop on the play. Oh, it's one of those ones that didn't look like much, but we can see whistles going off, and I think there'll have to be a stretcher or something for Francis Walsh.
Yeah, she doesn't look in a good way at all, does she? I think she's grabbing at her right knee.
And knew pretty much straight away, and this is...
Yeah,
stretcher is immediately being called, and fair enough too. And
I don't think there was anything malicious in the action. It was just a contested situation, and things do happen, but we're hoping for the best for Walsh here as the Bombers medical staff come out to assist as well.
We talk about those sort of moments. I talked about Georgia Nanscorn, and we go back to the Rebel VFLW Grand Final from last year.
2022.
22, the year before. Sorry, I got the dates wrong. But they, going down with a knee injury that looked, even in her, the way that she describes it, is innocuous.
Yeah, and as someone who has done an ACL before, we don't know what this is. We're not suggesting that it is anything in particular, but ACLs are such an innocuous... I remember when I did mine, it is innocuous. You don't realise that you've done something until you feel it, because you don't really feel that you've moved in a particular way. You don't feel anything like that. It just is all of a sudden painful. So hope for the best here. To be fair, though, you take a knee injury over a head injury, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, but all the care being taken at the moment, and fair enough too. I think just out of that contest, the Essendon player, I was watching the players that was going on, actually immediately put the hand up and said, no, you've got to get out here quickly.
Yes.
So
that was Ash Melnikas actually that called for the doctors there. But we had one last week in the Essendon game as well. Ella Friend, that leg is being held up, which suggests that it might be something different to an ACL or something in that respect. So all the best for Walsh there. But we had Ella Friend. It was a long injury layoff last week for the Bombers. They had to regroup themselves while Ella Friend was being looked after and brought from the ground. That was a neck-head issue. But that took quite a bit of time as well. So the Bombers are well versed in reassessing where they're at in these short breaks and then establishing themselves once again.
So that injury occurring on centre wing, which means that it's a bit of a trip down to the Collingwood rooms in the Sharon stand. And play will reset at half forward for Essendon. The ball had made it down that far, but yeah, really disappointing Francis Walsh. So I'm sure the club will give updates during the week once that injury is assessed.
Now the other factor of Collingwood are down 1 on the bench for the rest of the game, and it's very early in this game. So how that affects their ability to rotate and bring players on, rest players. If they had any want to rest any of the AFLW players or manage their minutes, they probably can do less of that now.
As Carney puts the ball towards 50, but the kick was smothered, and now the Pies with an opportunity. Ramos racking up the disposals in season 2024. Her kick, though, has been turned over. Madison Ford has got it, going wider. Bombers look to load up again. Ryan works into the middle of the ground, off hands. They're working hard. Money again, the kick inside 50. Goff just came off her knee as this ball is touched, so will be play on. It's Lennox who was kicking that ball out. The ball up the line is good. Here's Day. Takes a bounce. Kick inside 50. One-on-one contest. From position there was Madison Ford. Has to go back in and get the footy. Numbers here for the Pies. And a quick kick from Morris Dalton. Heading goalwards and through for another behind.
I like that from Morris Dalton, though. Took it on there. And I know she wants to get onto that left boot, so she was in a better position there to do that. She had to fight it out, which we like to see key forwards really scrapping and winning it at the ground level, because we know they can take a mark. That isn't a question.
As Chaston kicking out again over the head there of White for Collingwood. Is here with the Bombers as they're on centre wing. Now it's wrapped up and locked in. And holding the footy is the results. Well, that was interesting because it was the player who's got their hands on it now. Thesiopoulos, who's the player who dragged the ball in the first place. So the ball on centre wing. Working out Lennox for Collingwood. Trying to send them forward. Now an opportunity. Chaston into the middle of the ground. Madison Ford. They're just going to do this by short handball. Now the kick comes in up to centre half forward. It's a wide open 50 here for the Bombers if they can get the ball out. A bit of holding going on Ramsdale for Collingwood. Anyway, the ball into space. Here's another opportunity. Dabbage. Yes, got it. I said they've got the open space, Gemma, and they made the most of it too. Getting it goal side, and they're so dangerous in that position. Yeah,
I want to shout out Emily Goff there, who I'm so excited to watch this year. She's recently been drafted to the Bombers. She's that tall utility option. She's predominantly playing in the front half for them. Played her first game last week as she comes from the ground here. It was her handball. She broke the tackle and got the handball out into the forward space. So actually has that really attacking mindset of getting into that space where you can be far more dangerous than choosing to handball immediately to your left or your right, where it's still under pressure. It's not really an effective handball. So just that football intelligence there to get it into that front half created that goal. And yeah, she's an exciting player to watch, number one for the Bombers.
White gets a tap down again. Over the shoulder free kick. Will go the Bombers' way. A chance in the middle of the ground to set up again. There's a kick wrapped up there by Cronin, who's wearing number 64 today.
She's one of our favourites on the pod, Lucy Cronin.
As this kick is in. How many have you got as favourites on the list, by the way? Fowler's picked it up for Collingwood. I feel that that's going to be just taking up a whole program. That's Morris Dalton wearing 39. The kick over the top. Porter, superb. That is a great mark. Going back with the flight under pressure.
That's also what Porter can do. She starts that play in the middle of the ground because she's got that elite speed. She can get there and be really damaging and not having a direct opponent able to trail her. So she can do things like that. Holding that mark, though, even more impressive.
Needs to finish it off, and does. Alma Porter, first goal of the day for the Pies. And as we head towards quarter time, it's Essendon with the early running.
There are 3 early favourites on the pod, by the way, Pete. One of them's Emily Goff.
Yep.
One of them's Lucy Cronin. Oh, there's 4. Chloe Adams, who's not playing at the moment, and Isabel Bacon. So they're all recent draftees because you just get really excited to see the recent draftees to the AFLW getting their first crack in their new colours. But those 4, I think in particular, have immediately changed their VFLW sides, and I think will do similarly at AFLW level later in the year.
Morris Dalton with 6 disposals, early stages here. Remos with 6. Remos had 30 last week, averaging 22.5 disposals so far. I would suggest to you,
she's your
Gemma,
favourite,
would be a leader for the best and fairest at the end of the year.
Well,
at this stage,
we thought that about a different Collingwood player last year, and we were all proven wrong, weren't we?
True, and should point out that I think Remos is up there in the coaches' votes either.
So was Jess Bates. Jess Bates won the coaches' votes last year and didn't even get a look in the Lambert Pearce medal, which I think shocked a lot of people. And it was a 3-way tie. One of those 3-way tie winners out there today for the Pies.
Yes.
For Kayla Peterson moved from Box Hill to the Pies in the off-season. But you can just never predict where it's going to go. I think in AFLW it's similarly. Jasmine Garner never gets a look in when she should.
Well, that's a podcast episode in itself, by the way. That one have to be an extended edition.
Might have to turn my mic off for that one.
The unlucky players never to win a medal. As the kick heads up towards half forward for Collingwood. They just haven't had that fluency going forward. Here's Marnie again, just running into the tackle. Cop the full force of that.
Well, you mentioned the significant change each side has had in team selection this week. The Bombers had 8 changes, but there still seems to be that chemistry between each of their lines, whereas the Pies are still struggling with that a little bit, but they're coming off a much lower base of that connection too, given the significant player change they had in the off-season. So,
that ball thrown in.
Yes. But yeah, we've definitely seen Essendon adapt to that personnel change a little bit better today.
Yep, had a good win over the Southern Saints last week.
That voice you can hear is Collingwood coach Tom Cashin, just calling out from the boundary line.
Well, that'll be Bombers' opportunity with 30 seconds to go before quarter time. Clark, dealt with after taking that mark, was really made to earn it by Granville.
Very much so.
But it's worked actually because it slowed them down. Need to do everything right from here. And I don't think we're going to get another score before quarter time. We won't, because this ball will be tossed up and the siren will go. Competitive quarter of football, really interesting between these two sides, Collingwood and Essendon. And at the first change, it'll be the Bombers leading at 3 straight 18 to Collingwood 1-3-9. And Davidge with...
They just haven't been making the right choices inside 50. Credit to Essendon's defence as well. They've been very strong, but just finding those marks, you know, within 30 metres of goal, I think for the Pies, that'll change a lot for them.
It's the ball here, Bomber hands.
Mark.
It's a solid mark. Molan again kicked a goal in the opening term. Just so good overhead, the Bombers today. Not sure which way to go, so we'll go further afield. Dyke gets hands to it, shoots the handball over the top, but it's been turned over. Trying to get that footy away was Ingram. Couldn't do so. Now it's going to come back inside 50, right near the boundary line. Oh, had the makings of a goal of the year contender. Instead, it's rushed over.
But that's another tap on from a Bomber who knows where their teammate is and knows that them taking possession isn't the best choice in that moment. El Chaston did it earlier and it created a goal. That time it nearly created a goal. So that team connection has grown week on week for the Bombers, and it's really, really showing today.
Lucy Cronin will go long. Try to get outside that 50. It's going to come straight back in again, you feel. The Bombers have got the numbers into the path of Porter, who needs to do the work and did some good work picking up that footy. Wheels around inside 50. It looks like it's going to be cut off. There's this kick from Peterson, working into the middle of Victoria Park. They'll go by long kick, but they've got the extra player here, the Bombers. They could have raffled it off in the end. Bateman's the one who takes the mark.
But again, not the right choice going forward from Collingwood. There's not really any method to the way they're going forward. They're just trying to gain territory, but the Bombers are so well set up behind the play that it's always going to land in the Bombers' hands.
Malinkus, the player getting it forward. Davidge is kicking to a wide open 50 again for the Bombers. They just all clear out. And it sets a task for Casey Lennox to go and pick up the footy. Immediately set upon two. And the umpire says holding the ball. Good pressure from the Bomber forwards.
Yeah, that was Tassiopoulos in her first game today. There's two first gamers there for the Bombers with Ellie Huggard as well. That's the sort of effort you want to see from a debutant.
From Old Scotch. Chance at her first goal in Rebel VFLW. The kick is there! They better be getting to it. They do, the Bombers. Special moments. Emily Tassiopoulos gets her first goal in the Rebel VFLW. An important one too for the Bombers, Gemma.
How good's the celebration from her? It was a little bit like Daniel Turner on Wednesday night. Knew it was the first goal, so got around themselves before anyone else could.
Just need to provide that reminder.
But how good is it to kick a goal from pressure, from forward pressure, from winning holding the ball free kick close to goal and then going back and slotting it? It's such a confidence booster, not just for you but for your team. And for the Bombers to maintain their momentum now that they had late in that first quarter.
And not a breath of wind here at Victoria Park. They move into the afternoon. Oh, smile, top of 18 degrees as well. Ideal for footy as Remos is held up and the ball tossed up.
So Ruby Marnie has now been moved on to Tani White at the contest.
And Tani White will take the free kick.
Lily Pearce.
Lily Pearce, I should say.
Sorry, I've just got Tani White in your brain now because I keep mentioning her.
You have, as the kick. Sub 50 is a good one. They've worked this out okay, the Pies. So this is rare for a forward. And that kick's a good one as well. That's probably the best build-up the Pies have had going forward. And on the end of this is Carly Remos.
Absolutely it is. And it's about the patience to create a higher percentage shot on goal, which is so important. But Ramos's work rate from the midfield to get into that space as well.
Now needs to finish it off, and does. First goal of the morning for Carly Remos. An important one, Pies, just to maintain, just keep pace with the Bombers.
I saw you check your watch to make sure it was still morning.
Well, no, I did.
She's one of your favourites, isn't she, Pete?
Yes. Well, just in terms of what we've seen this season, a couple of wins in a row too for the Pies, and certainly last week that win over Darebin was set up with 30 disposals from Carly Remos.
And 12 clearances. That's the other thing. She's essentially replaced Jess Bates around the footy to be that bullocking, contested ball player. But I think what Remos also has is that work rate to get into space forward to be an option at goal too.
Doug was just held up. There's a player in trouble for the Pies again here. Is that Erica Fowler? Who's just feeling it a little bit just after that ruck contest. Going to get straight back to work and managed to get the tap down as well. Maybe just copped a knock there. Just keep an eye on that as Marnie just running into a brick wall of Magpies at the moment. Malinkus eventually will clear the area into the path here of Clark, who can go over the top, forward. And the kick will go inside 50 or towards the 50. Mullins there.
Oh,
That's nicely picked up and taken away. You said it there. Ingram works it into the middle of Victoria Park, and away they go. The kick to a wide open 50. Good body work. Morris Dalton should finish it off from here. Was just pushed off the kick at the crucial moment, but it doesn't matter because she's kicked it. Well, it was the body work there from Morris Dalton and managed to get that goal side and kick the goal.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of Morris Dalton and what she brought to Collingwood last year in her first year at the Pies, and now obviously getting a footy touch back at VFL level before the season begins. But she's a physical player inside 50. It took a little bit of time for her to find her feet at AFLW level, and then she really kind of put the foot down once she moved to Collingwood. She's an elite kick at goal. She's a very smart player in terms of, as you said, her body work, her positioning, all that sort of stuff. And she knows what her abilities are, and she knows when she maybe can't do something as well. She's very good at making those choices. She was their leading goal kicker at the Pies last year in what was a tough season, but she was one of the shining lights alongside Ellery Morris, who isn't out there today. She's having some concussion issues, but she was part of the pre-game ceremony because she's part of the Defence Forces. But Nell Morris Dalton, she's got another level to go to this year.
And starts here and giving those players the opportunity to have a playing pre-season effectively. As Collingwood really settling into the task now. This ball in the hands of Sansonetti. Across there to Granville. The kick inside 50 is going to be chopped off. Bateman on the end of this one for the Bombers.
Yeah, you mentioned a playing pre-season. AFLW pre-season officially begins on the 3rd of June. So we're still a month and a bit away from the official pre-season, but every single club has players in there doing sessions every week already. So every player and every club so determined to improve this year. It's going to make the comp better, but also it's having these sorts of comps, obviously the waffle, the sandful, the quaffle as well, there to use. So important to have somewhere you can get your actual footy touch, because you can do skill sessions all day, but until you've actually played competitive footy, you're not really ready for competitive footy, are you?
Well, what the positioning of the season will mean then is we get some of these sides playing in finals action. It'll be like AFLW finals, effectively.
Well, I imagine come June we'll have a lot of those AFLW players pulled from sides. So it'll go back to the VFLW listed players, but I think having so many AFLW players in the comp at this point of the year, it actually makes the others better as well. And then we've also got a bunch of players who used to play AFLW and now no longer are, who still have that ability and that skill. So it's making both comps better, I think.
There's Radford trying to clear the area for the Bombers. In the path here of Molan, just taken off the footy, and ball moved across. Atkinson getting hands to it, wearing number 45. So if you caught the teams yesterday they came out. There's been jumper number changes for a number of the Pies players, as we've mentioned. Not for Charlie Granville, though, who kicks this ball up and getting the hands to Carly Ramos. Strong overhead, kick inside 50, beats the initial pack. Just way at the back there was James. Ball spilling free. Oh, a couple of the Bombers players just toppled each other over in the end. Little comedy of errors. That mark's not going to be paid today. Wasn't 15, and now the umpire will throw it up.
That was a great execution of the tackle from Chaston there. Didn't sling the opposition player, actually brought them down on top of them so that it was safer for both of them. So that's good skill execution to see.
Siopolis just off the fingertips. That would have been a hell of a mark if that was able to come down. But they're doing the follow-up work. Have a look at that.
She's been a good addition, hasn't she?
Absolutely. Making an impact in game number 1.
Is she a new favourite over Nanscorn?
Maybe. Over Nanscorn. Yeah, just win a couple of best and fairest. You don't play one game, you take it off the list. I'm not that harsh. I don't think anyone should be. Ramos at the bottom of this pack. It's an interesting discussion to have. I'm sure this is one that will come up in the podcast, Gemma, that you're effectively running. That's how you actually introduce these AFLW players and how you structure that pre-season, because now we've got the consistency. We know when the seasons are, whereas for a while there they're playing the 2 seasons. And
well, it's only the second year that we've had structure throughout the year, so I think what we're going to see it evolve over the next few once we've got that consistency, but 2 years in, there's been so much change when it comes to the collective bargaining agreement as well, so how long players are actually contracted for. So much has changed even in the last 6 months that everything is still new. So I think over the next 5 years, we'll see everything settle into its place, and that's when we'll see a lot of quick improvement off the back of that.
Here's James for Collingwood. Long kick inside 50. Bateman not going to be paid the mark. Had a big piece of it though. Chaston coming in for the Bombers. Plenty of cabs being hailed on that side of the ground, and we'll have it tossed up. That structure is, the planning. But as you say, Jim, it's the thing of what you said before about so many AFLW players getting in and starting that pre-season early, but also having that opportunity to, it's not match sim, it's actual matches that could be played.
Yeah, so I spoke to Chloe Malloy at the Swans about this and why they wanted to be part of this invitational VFLW season and all those sorts of things. And it essentially comes down to, we see this as almost like a pre-season scrimmage. We do that so that we're not stuck in monotonous training for 5 or 6 weeks.
Yep.
And then we go back to our proper pre-season training. So it doesn't feel like you're doing pre-season training for 8 months of the year. It actually refreshes their minds to actually prepare for games rather than just, go back in, I'm going to do a skill session, I'm going to do a running session. So it's the ability mentally for them to refresh as well.
Oh, just at that bearing of the practice matches too, which obviously I didn't take into account there. Obviously there'll be a number of those matches in the pre-season for the AFLW teams. So the calendar kind of works. There's good tackling pressure again, rewarded this time. As you can hear the Bomber crowd behind us. And so Tassiopoulos again. There's a surprise. Another tackle.
Yeah, and we should mention as well, Gold Coast wishes that they were part of the VFLW Invitational like the New South Wales sides. Unfortunately, they're not, but they've actually organised their own. So this weekend, West Coast has flown over to Gold Coast to take them on in a scratch match, essentially, with full AFLW lists. And I believe Sydney will be doing the same thing, flying up to the Gold Coast to play a scratch match with them after their VFLW session is over.
There are worse places to play, Gemma.
I love the cold. I love Melbourne, so don't say that to me.
All right, there's the kick into the pocket. Just trying to get hands to it. It was Morris Dalton for the Pies. Just going without it was Marnie for the Bombers. Another stalemate here. Ball's eventually released. They're just allowing the rolling maul to happen here, the umpires. Hoping that something's going to come of this. It won't. So we bear down at half-time.
I think something we've known about Essendon for a long time is that they do have such a strong, solid defensive mindset. So when the ball does get trapped in their back half, they're able to work it out like this because they're really connected in that back half.
Goff just went long with the kick, but it's going to come straight back in again for Collingwood. Looking around. They've got the numbers. Another tackling pressure again from the Bombers. Every time a Pies player looks like they're going to get clear, they're not able to. Marnie just stripped that footy. Now is wrapped up in her own tackle. And the ball will be tossed up again.
It's just chewing time off the clock as well, as in VFLW. There's no time on, so it's just a flat 20-minute quarter. So every stoppage.
This kick heads up towards the goal square. Numbers again. Chaston for the Bombers. Looking to get clear up. Didn't quite find Huggard, who's got plenty of time, though, to pick up the footy. And cuts in board as well. Chaston's run on. We'll have to work that handball back. Wasn't the best of options. It was the only one that was available at the time, as this kick's going to be turned over. And now they could just slow it down just for a little bit. It's quite frenetic, the pace, as Robertson goes across the 50, potentially dangerously, because it's now a 2-on-1, and the two ended up winning out. Ramos, the kick inside 50, right to the top of the goal square. Mark taken. Pressure is on. Sansonetti is there for Collingwood. And eventually the ball is cleared to that outer side. Huggard just sending it on its way. It'll be close to the boundary line, and now it goes over.
I'm really loving Madison Ford coming out of that back half for the Bombers. She doesn't just get it and kick it long as a key defender. She actually takes off and uses her legs to drive out into space before taking the kick. It's really good to see a key defender playing in that way.
Blood rule. Now, which is the player who's heading from the ground? It will be, I think, is it Eliza James who's running towards us?
Yeah, it is. In the
yes,
bright orange boots.
And just a...
Erica Fowler coming on for her, so not necessarily a lack for a lack replacement.
It's a nose. Or cup to whack in the mouth, it seems. Yeah. It comes from the ground.
She doesn't look too distressed, though.
No, be patched up. Probably more the distress having to run from one side of the ground to the other to get off.
It's a bit of a distance.
The worst place to have a blood rule. Pierce getting that front position. And now it spills free. Dyson handball over the top for Collingwood. Oh, good tackling pressure. No talk there for the Bombers. That was beautifully done. Sansonetti, the tackler. And the kick, though, has been turned over.
To be fair to the Pies, the kicks in aren't actually that bad. They're kicking it to the pack where they've got representation. They're just not at the pack reading it well enough. And the Bombers are reading it very, very well.
That was clever from Robertson there. Was under pressure, just held position, didn't quite take possession of the footy, just held that position to lock it in.
And it's something that we've seen from the Bombers quite a bit, not necessarily taking possession all the time.
It's now the clearing kick from Marnie, dangerously. Clash of bodies, I think everyone's okay out of that one. Let's work back into the middle of the ground. More pressure again. Lennox this time. Feeling the tackling pressure from the Bombers. And we'll have it tossed up.
Hear that from Tom Cash and the Pies coach, Tani White. She's going to have to go defensive for the 5 minutes here.
As Dyke goes over the top, Richardson just need to get the handball out. We'll have to go in and lay the tackle because the numbers are there for the Pies. Cronin just clearing the area. It may only be temporary as Nolan works it over the top. Opportunity for Goff to finish. Strength in numbers when they get it forward, the Bombers. And as we head towards half-time, they're resetting the balance of power in this contest.
Just going back to what I said in that first quarter, Pete, about typically this year the Bombers have spent a lot of time in their forward half, haven't necessarily made the most of it on the scoreboard. This game, it's turned it on its head. They've been living in their back half, but standing really strong. Then once they do go forward, they've actually got space to work with because everyone is kind of coming from that other half of the ground. So they've just played it really smartly. And Goff, she adds so much to that front half, doesn't she?
4-10, 3-8, 5-10. Just going backwards, 4-11 in terms of their scoring, and of course the 7 behinds to start off the season. So, yeah, it is definitely a turnaround here. It's not for lack of being able to get it inside the 50, and now they're getting the rewards for it. Linkers, the kick was okay now. The tap on again. Nolan to run onto it. Molan, I should say, is the ball. Malinkus. Dyke kicks inside 50. Good body work again from Radford to get goal side. Just needs to pick up the footy. Oh, here we go again. Chance to finish 2 in a row for Goff. And you're going to sound like a broken record, Gemma Bastiani. I've got a feeling that may be coming up today.
How good does she look, though? She's so smart, knows how to find her space, and knows where the goals are, which sounds like such a cliche. But it's true. She's kicking straight, and the Bombers, that's been something they've struggled with this year. She looks good. She's exciting.
I'll say it so you don't have to say it over and over and over. But the tap on again.
Another tap on.
Again, it was Radford at the back of the pack just to move that footy forward.
Well, it started with the tap on from Ava Jordan in the middle of the ground as well. So it's clearly a directive. Those 1%ers are everything. And we've seen teams win premierships with 1%ers.
Ball to ground. Tani White trying to send the Pies forward, but a great quarter of footy again. And those 2 goals in the space of... we're still going. Here we go. The siren goes. Let's get this second half underway. Good crowd building up too. Free entry if you are in the local area. Come down. This Rebel VFLW clash. They go straight out of the middle with Tani White. Do the Pies. The kick's a good one as they work it inside 50. James just went over her head. Porter is there as well, trying to extract the footy. Feel that they need the first goal here, the Pies, in this third quarter, but Chaston doing a great job just to clear the area. Dyker went over her head, but there's again the tap on. It is so effective. Huggard goes up the line, and the Bombers will be able to reset again. Tassiopoulos.
Oh, kick. That's threading the needle there.
Spearing ball, Huggarts. Just saying, I might think Emily Tassiopoulos might get on to favourite players on the State of Play podcast this week. I would hope so, as Richardson takes the mark.
I'd have to ask if we can interview her. Just putting that out there. I'm sure someone will pick that up.
His kick goes long, goes over the back of the pack. Peterson with a bit of work to do. Does well, controls the footy. Well, just didn't bounce back to her. Disappointing. And now the turnover is on for the Bombers. As this ball by Porter all the way to the line is through. That space, you just cannot give the Bombers any space.
No, and their ability to transition really neatly down the ground has been super impressive. It was something that stood out last week as well. Their skill level, their execution with the footy has been really impressive. Hitting targets, knowing when to go, knowing when to slow the game down. It's that mode of game awareness as well, which has been super impressive. But one to watch here, Lily Pearce was just stretching out her right leg after that first centre stoppage for the half, and was a little bit lame moving around the ground. So maybe she's just battling with something a little bit in that right leg.
Yes, this will be a jump ball. Work with Matilda Dyke there. This again with the tap down. Tani White wrapped up in the tackle.
Emily Goff into the midfield for the start of this quarter as well. So when I said she's a utility, I meant it.
Dyke managed to take it from the ruck contest. Sold Porter into all sorts of trouble. Now has to go back in and lay the tackle on Ramos. And we'll have this ball tossed up again.
Essendon AFLW coach Natalie Wood is out here today as well, so I'm sure there's a lot of those AFLW listed players who want to put their best foot forward for consideration in round one. So that's something that Emily Goff no doubt is thinking about.
Yep. Could see the coach and then just kicked 2 goals in about a minute and a half to finish off that second quarter.
Right in front of where Natalie Wood was standing too, so not a bad end to kick them.
And just a reminder during the week, you see those? Here, I'll show you on social media. As the play taken without it was Marnie for the Bombers. Still in dispute. We haven't really moved all that far to start off this third quarter. How much of an opportunity did Porter have on that occasion? The umpire said not enough.
Sarah Sansonetti got up a little bit sore as well there. So a few little niggles for the Pies in this first part of this half.
I think he's trying to clear that ball. Will eventually. Dyke had to get down to pick it up, couldn't do so. Goff trying to paddle forward, and now they're away. Here is Huggart going across the ground. It's going to be turned over. The Pies with an opportunity through Cronin. It's a wide open 50 again. Trying to get there is Ramos. Almost won the race in the end. Porter just hacking it forward for Collingwood in towards the forward pocket. Ball off hands. Pressure there from Robinson of the Bombers. Ford just shot the handball out. Dangerous position though. And Morris Dalton is lurking. And the umpire will come in and throw it up right next to the boundary line.
This is a point where the Pies really need to capitalise on this forward 50 entry. They lived in their front half last quarter, didn't make the most of it, and then got really, really punished when they let it out. They've got to make something of this time they spend inside 50, otherwise the scoreboard is really going to get away from them.
Have we seen a last possession free kick for going over the boundary line today?
That is only between the arcs, not
I know.
in the arcs.
Yep, no, I'm aware of that, but I don't think we've had one, have we?
I
As
don't
this
remember one.
quick kick from Day into the pocket. I think that mark has been taken. Yeah, it'll count. And this ball, Sansonetti, who's got it right near the behind line.
Do you know what her nickname is, Pete?
What would it be?
It's Zinger. Her nickname is Zinger. I don't know anything more than that.
Zinger has gone narrow with that one. Yes.
She's been a really underrated get for the Pies. I think she's also a utility now that we're talking about a few of them. But she can play at either end of the ground. She came from the Tigers, was delisted, and then picked up essentially for nothing by the Pies. And she's just added a little bit more versatility to what the Pies offer on the field. So can go forward and kick goals, can offer a lot in defence as well. So she's one to watch this year, I think.
As Ramos trying to just hack that footy forwards. Another tight contest here. And that's why I was talking about the boundary line and the throw-ins. Because we haven't had it, and it's just been the pressure. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's been pressure on every single contest. Yeah, so the last disposal out is obviously you have to dispose of it and it not be touched before it goes over the line. But a lot of the time it's a tackle taking it over the line, or it's been touched. As around the body goes James. High ball, looking for Porter. Gets there, just on the line. Second goal for Porter, and an important one for Collingwood. Alana Porter's such a fascinating case. Pete, last year in the VFLW, she was trialled in this forward position. She'd played all her AFLW career in defence to that point. They trialled her in the forward line in VFLW. She got up to scratch, but then didn't really get consistent opportunity at AFLW level last year. She looks a world apart from the way she was playing in the VFLW last year. So she's definitely putting her best foot forward now that she's, I guess, established herself as a small, quick forward rather than a defender that's just been switched. So she looks like she's really shaping up for a big year at both levels. Big game for the Porters. One on either side kicking a goal in this third quarter. As Pies now looking good, going inside 50 again. Ball to the front. Chance another one. Wow, that was interesting. That kick going straight into the player, the Essendon player in front. Now around the body by Day. High ball up towards the top of the goal square. Still 2-on-1 going on here. Morris Dalton battling, scrambling, but the weight of numbers is with the Bombers as Robertson clearing kick. It will only be temporary because it's going to come straight back in. Fowler's got it. Looks up. Very congested inside 50 here for Collingwood. Kick to the top of the line. There's three players there for the Bombers. They spoiled each other. Day went without the footy. That might have been a little high on the Essendon player with the footy. The umpire will come in and toss it up. Day is starting to get really active in that front half for the Pies. She's come out on a mission this half. Every single player on the field is in Collingwood's forward half. Against the congestion. Morris Dalton, though, clears the area. Oh, the bounce almost came back for a goal. How's the strength on Morris Dalton, though? I'll take two or three of your best, and I'll still win the footy and still get it onto the big boot. So Justin's kick needs to be precise. Morecambe might get a free kick here for a hold. Oh, yes, but fraction lucky there, but kick wide. It's good. Ryan's got it. And across there to Radford. So the Bombers looking to build here. Yeah, the Bombers have adapted really well to the pressure that Collingwood has started bringing. They're trying to find these uncontested marks so it doesn't allow that pressure to come into their game. 1 goal to 1 goal 1. The Pies leading this quarter by a goal as we approach the midway point of quarter number 3. There's plenty of numbers down back. Taylor. It's a good kick. Kick wide is a good one. Yep, as Gemma's quite rightly pointed out. Morris Dalton will kick short. Just going to work through the middle of the ground. Tani White. See the free player in James. He'll go with a long one up towards half forward. And you've got to pay that to the player in front. They want to move it quickly. Giacomi. Right on the paint of 50. wrestling going on. Cincinnati trying to get to the fall of that ball now, just hovering at the back. And we have that long pause, which means it could go either way before the umpire blows the whistle.
Wasn't quite the right kick going deep. Cincinnati had the space in front, but she wasn't playing in front of Chaston. So it wasn't ever going to be able to get out onto that lead. It needed to go more on their heads because Cincinnati did have the size on Chaston there.
Dalton doing the ruck work. Spills out to James, dribbling ball. A little bit fortuitous there. Cincinnati coming out to meet it. Numbers here for the Bombers. They do need to be clean though. Gamble will kick into the middle of Victoria Park. There's not much happening in that particular part of the ground. So the Pies have to bring it through. Pierce overran it. Well done there by Molan just to get that undergrounder happening. Now again, Collingwood Peterson will go wider. They'll work this out okay. Giacomi will kick across the grounds. And we'll find Ingram, who will go wider to Peterson. And that congestion, Gemma, continues here. The Bombers pushing the numbers back. It means it's very congested forward of centre for Collingwood. It also means that these kicks from the Bombers aren't going to hit any targets. So Peterson's going to send it straight back in again. Chaston has to go back and pick up the foot. He did really well in the end just to hold the wave of Pies coming back towards them. And we'll have this ball tossed up.
It's very much that arm wrestle at the moment, but it does feel like if the Bombers just get one possession in their front half, they're away to the races there.
Day to the pockets. Keeping this ball in is James. Did a really good job there, and it's in a dangerous position. Numbers with the Bombers, but the Pies win out. Cincinnati didn't have much support there. Now they have got the numbers. Day, quick out of the pack. It's got the carry. Well, I think a bit of reward for effort there. And Caitlin Day, first goal for her this afternoon. And again, it just keeps the Pies within touching distance.
Well, I said, Pete, that they needed to make something of those forward entries. Otherwise, it was just going to get away from them. They absolutely have. They've kicked the 2 goals. They just look a little bit more proactive in that front half. They're not trailing an opposition player every time the ball goes in. It's not going to ground with only Bombers represented there. Caitlin Day, I think, has really turned it on in terms of her speed, her movement to keep her direct opposition on their toes. They just look dangerous all of a sudden, and the Bombers don't quite know what to do with it.
Cincinnati is now up to 13 disposals for the game for the Pies. There's the ball back in the middle. Not the leading disposal winner on the ground. I'll give you one guess of who that might be. Is
your mate?
Ford. Sarah Ford, who's got the footy at the moment. It's not Sarah. And will this be 50? No, we're going to honour the free kick, or the mark there. Marnie, he's got it. Of course, it's, yes, Ramos, 15 disposals. Thought to solve that mystery for everyone, in case they're not looking at the official VFL app, where you can get all the stats. The VFL website as well. The kick is going along, looking there for Goff. Second effort was superb. Radford just pushed off the footy at the crucial moment. And now they can get something going here, the Pies. In the middle of the ground. Let's see what Cincinnati can do. Kick to centre half forward. Coming to meet the footy. Gamble there for the Bombers. Just overran it at the crucial moment. Whereas Dalton managed to get that handball back. Ingram in a bit of trouble. Ping for holding the footy. Great tackle, Chaston. Justin will go wide to Tasiopoulos. First game making a real impact.
Kick.
Let's look at that. Radford, they need to get it moving here, the Bombers. They've got the numbers, now they've got the one-on-one front position. Look at that. Look at how good, how strong that mark is. Richardson's got it. And we'll line up just again to just keep Essendon with this handy margin.
This is their, outside of that Porter goal from nearly outside 50, this is their first real, genuine opportunity to score this quarter, the Bombers.
So Jada Richardson deliberate approach. Sharon Stand, end of Victoria Park, and celebrated immediately. It left the boots. So whenever Collingwood threaten, the Bombers are there just with that handy goal when they need it the most. And that'll be her third goal for the season.
I know this sounds silly to say, Pete, but this is a very good game of football.
Yes. Okay. Jimmy Bastiani stating the obvious there, folks.
I know, but the trading blows, I think, is really interesting in the way that they're doing that. As soon as the Pies kind of cleaned up their forward entries, they all of a sudden look so dangerous. And then the way that the Bombers are able to go to the other end and kick accurately, kicking 8-1 is a whole different world for the Bombers than we've seen this year so far.
Yeah, they keep this up. They might want to play their home games here. That would be interesting, as Marnie.
Much easier for me to get to, so I'll take that.
Like 360'd in the tackle. Manages to spill it free. Pearce was the player there, just trying to hack it forward. Ramos at the bottom of the pack, and the ball will be thrown up. As Dyke just having the front position there. The path of Ford, that's Sarah Ford. And now they're clear. Here's Chaston, can go for a run. And now a long ball, wide open 50. The ball will need to break. Oh, has it got it? Yes, it has! It had the distance and it had the accuracy. And that is a captain's goal if ever you've seen one.
How good is that from Al Chaston? They know how to lift their team whenever it's needed, whether it's a goal like that from the centre square or whether it's a really big defensive effort. Obviously, they play down back, take the kick-ins, but they just know when they need to step up and just take the team on their back. So impressive from Al Chaston there, and you can see how much their teammates love them, all getting around them after that one.
Just the strength through that, and then obviously assessing the option of going, well, there's no one actually in the goal square, and gets the distance.
Unreal.
That was superb. Need to get the break, got the break. Marnie, just in second effort. Now Dyke getting the handball out, but it's just into open space. Giacomi just worked off the footy. Still got the numbers here, the Pies. Pearce will work it back out. Undergrounder for Dyson. Just feeling the pressure, they're being forced back. Peterson just had a little bit of extra time, could assess the option. Ramsdale will kick. Here's Chaston. Jumping a little bit too early. The push out's going to be called. And a free kick.
How's the composure from the Pies there in the back half? Having to, handball around a little bit under pressure to work their way out of there. Just, it could have all gone to water there for them with one missed handball. They just stopped from being panicked.
Ingram to Cronin, the long kick today, who's just going around the body, dribbling ball. Almost a push in the back. Yeah, the umpire's seen it. Pretty obvious on Isabel Porter there.
Your mate, a bit rough.
Just a touch. So the kick will be short, and Robertson in the defensive goal square. Looking here, Linkus. There's a minute 20 from three-quarter time, and the footy's going to be turned over again. Jade Anthony's got it. Look up, and this has been a familiar sight in this third term, a congested forward 50 for Collingwood.
Good option.
Kick goes wide. And so, Cronin.
Not the right kick.
Long and high, but they may still get out of it. Porter trying to push it forward. That's Collingwood's Porter, as eventually spills free. Stacks on, and we'll have it tossed up.
Caitlin Day had done a brilliant job to break away from her direct opponent and lead into space, and just wasn't acknowledged there.
So another stoppage you think will be coming up here. Hold position. Wait for the whistle.
We can hear Pies coach get moving through this stoppage.
Another stoppage. And we've got 15 seconds. We'll have probably about 10 seconds by the time this ball comes through. Dyke had it, lost it. We'll hold up again, and I think that'll just about be it. So an interesting final quarter ahead of us. It's a 20-point lead. I think that scoreboard might be wrong over there. A 20-point lead to the Bombers. 9-1-55, plays 5-5-35. Averaging
quick goals and just put the Pies back on the back foot has been quite impressive.
So Pearce, Dyke going at it. Pearce, the second effort. Send the Pies forward for the first time in this final term, but the kick not hitting its target. And Gamble comes out and takes a strong mark for Essendon. Wider, Bateman. So what do you reckon Tom Catchin told his team at three-quarter time?
I think the pressure at the contest has been really good, and I think he would have praised that.
Good mark from Radford. But think about going across the other side of the ground to the free player, Ryan, who was calling for it. But just didn't get to Ryan in time, and now plenty of Pies should be able to mop this up. James, the kick to a 2-on-1. Gamble attacking the contest, then having to go and get the footy as well. This ball should be locked in and will be.
There are two things I would have loved to see late in that game where they were deep in their forward line with a minute to go that the Pies just weren't able to execute. One is knowing that there's no time on, time's not going to stop for stoppages. So, that was a bit rough. The idea of just tapping down to your feet where you know that the Bombers have got plenty of numbers that can just lock it down, create repeat stoppages. Tap it, spike the ball out, distance from the pack, get it into space rather than allowing it to get clogged up and time just chewed up like that. I think that's the first part that I would have mentioned. The other is having someone on the move at those stoppages. There wasn't really a lot of movement, and to Essendon's credit, they were able to lock that down a little bit more as well. But we know that Collingwood has some speed in attack, especially those small forwards like an Alana Porter, like an Eliza James, who can move through forward stoppages really effectively. Getting on the move through those situations to get a little bit more reward on the scoreboard, I think, is something that they lacked a little bit late in that quarter, so maybe something they can change now.
As Ingram takes the mark here, do you isolate Morris Dalton deep inside 50?
Yes, I think so, because we know that she's so strong in the one-on-one. The problem is you try to isolate her, but Essendon is really well drilled and will maintain their defensive structure whether you're trying to pull them up to the ball or not.
Here's Atkinson going to that play up. There's the results. It's almost as if we called for that, Gemma.
You definitely did, yeah. She's so strong, Morris Dalton. But that was a great kick from Atkinson as well, who is very, very new to footy, having only recently come over from Ireland. So really good signs.
Kicked goal in the second quarter and off the side of the boot. And it's marked by Malinkas in the last line of defence. Let's see what the Bombers can do. Work this up the ground. It's Ryan from defensive 50. Malinkas again. Will go wide. Dyke, well, was there waiting for the mark. Teammate got the way. Still got the ball though. And now is in all sorts of trouble. Working there with Clark. They actually worked the 1-2 all right. Now they've got the overlap. There's Radford kick. Oh, that's nicely done. Goff. There's players sprinting forward here for Essendon. Goff, 2 goals in about a minute and a half to close out the second quarter. The kick in the Molan direction. Can't find her, but they've still got the numbers here. Slaloming through. Marnie pushed off the footy at the crucial moment. Pies may be able to clear temporarily. Ingram's got some work to do and some space. Handball wasn't effective. Has to go back in and get it. Good second effort, but just worried off the footy here by Gamble of Essendon. Good contest, this one on centre wing. The ball will be held up and the umpire will come in and toss it up.
Gee, Goff looks like a find, doesn't she? Every time she gets near the footy, she does something special.
So Dyke with the tap down. Get Gemma's thoughts on that ruck contest today. Something identified the start of the game as one of the ones to watch. How Essendon have rotated through. But we'll go with the Bombers at the moment as Radford's been taken a little bit too high. Certainly the crowd thought so. Trying to get through Marnie. And we'll take one a little bit too high, and we'll take the free kick at half forward. So again, not as congested. The Bombers going forward here. Still everyone forward of centre. Marnie kicking to the player in front of her in Peterson, who collects the ball. Ingram. They kick up the line. Now, what's the call going to be here? That was our first.
Lasso.
Our first lasso of the game. It just underlines how close this contest has been. As the Bombers with the short kick. Clark. Now a long ball. Looking to go wide. Dyke was there. Just trying to shuffle it back in. Scooped it back in almost. Now, what's the call going to be here?
Throw.
Not a scoop. I'll correct myself. A throw.
It's going the Pies' way there. But, gee, the Bombers just look so attacking when they get that little bit of space, don't they?
We've seen it particularly inside their 50. This ball's held up. That ruck contest, you mentioned it earlier. How have you seen that today from both teams?
Without having looked at the stats, I'll just get them up now, but I think that I've been really impressed with Matilda Dyke's follow-up at ground level. I know I flagged that as being something I was looking forward to.
Chance for Radford. Sorry, Gemma, the kick going long is successful. And Sophie Molan, a chance to extend the margin here for Essendon.
It's a great kick to the advantage of a teammate right there. Molan had the back space, wasn't playing in front, knew that there was strength there as well from Molan to body and protect the drop of the ball. Just really smart kick inside 50.
This will make it hard for the Pies. But she's got it. Second of the day for Sophie Molan.
Got 3 multiple goal scorers, the Bombers. Emily Goff, Sophie Molan and Teague Davidge have each kicked the 2. Just trying to look at stats for you there. Yeah, so Lily Pearce has the 29 hit-outs, which we expect. She had 42 last week. She's always going to win that hit-out battle because she does have such long arms. She's got a great leap. She's very good with that hit-out count. She's had the 11 disposals, 6 of those have been kick, 5 of those have been handball, sorry. Matilda Dykes only had the 9 hit-outs, but I felt like she's been a bit more dangerous in the congestion, and maybe she adapts the way she goes about her rucking a little bit more around the modes of the game to give her midfielders the best opportunity. Lily Pearce, she's more of that really traditional ruck, whereas you think of a Matilda Dyke as a Brodie Grundy type, a Lauren Pearce type.
As the ball cleared here by the aforementioned Dyke, has put it into the middle of the ground. Long handball by Molan. It's into the path here of Davidge. Wide open 50. How's the bounce this time? Not successful. 38-17 the overall hit-out count, just to underline what you've been saying there, Gemma.
How good was that from Molan, though, on the run, getting the handball out really quickly into space to give Davidge the best opportunity there. Obviously, it wasn't accurate because the Pies did bear down, but that was really good from Molan.
Cronin will go long. James at the back here. They haven't got really the numbers. Morris Dalton a long way from home, but they've got the overlap run. They're going to need to be careful here because this is going into 2 Bomber players. And they raffle it off. Clark was the player to take it. Morecambe in the middle of the ground. Kick quite finding its target, looking for Jordan. Good tackling pressure again. Weight of numbers. Jordan. Chipping kick over the top. Tassiopoulos can break the tackle. Couldn't break the tackle. Managed to get the handball away. Malinkas just trying to get her opponent off the foot. He picks it up and now is tackled. And the umpire says you had an opportunity to get rid of it. And that's holding the ball.
That feels like an opportunity gone begging for the Bombers there. They had numbers, they had speed, they had space, and they just made a bit of a meal of it there.
So working that ball out wide, the Pies, you feel, as we head to the midpoint of this final term, Need a couple of quick goals just to put the pressure on. Not going to do it on this occasion as Morecambe is the recipient of the turnover. Kick goes wide. Porter. Flying there was Goff. Just couldn't bring it to ground. Now in the middle of the ground we go. Gamble lost a handle on the footy, but they've still got the numbers here, the Bombers. Richardson. Oh, they work it through beautifully. Now the shot at goal from Ford right to the line. A couple of numbers here for the Pies. They get some fluency going up the ground. Granville. Kick to a 2-on-2 contest. Pushing through Anthony. Kick wide. Centre half back's going to be cut off by Clark. Handball over the top. They've still got the numbers here. Kick. Tassiopoulos was smothered. Now the Pies might be able to make something happen here. Day. Long kick for Morris Dalton to say have a go, but Chasten's there. Skipper of the Bombers will get the handball receive. But this kick's going to come straight back in. Need to be careful, Ingram. Just sends a little undergrounder, and it's been turned over again. Gamble taken off the footy, holding the footy as the results. Tackling pressure from the Pies. Atkinson. He arrived. Atkinson. Oh, kick again is superb. Goodness me. 2 in this final quarter that we've seen, Gemma. And now the long ball heading all the way to the goal square is going to be marked. Now they need to go back. Here the Pies put it through to Giacomi. We'll line up directly in front. And pops this through. Is there a pulse? Is there a pulse for Collingwood?
I mean, it's still at least a 4-goal margin with less than 10 minutes remaining, but gee, that was a good passage of play from the Pies, and you called out Atkinson. Another great kick going inside 50. Just pops it up over the top of the defender to just get into that back space, knowing that her teammate is playing behind their defender. Really smart from someone so new to the game as well. She's an exciting prospect for the AFLW side in particular.
The Bombers spending a bit of time on the road the next couple of weeks. GWS, a trip to Sydney, as Collingwood does as well. They're taking on Sydney next week.
The last game for both of those Sydney sides in the VFLW for the year as well.
Been quite strong. As Tyson's kick. A bit of holding going on. Will be Day taking the free kick? No. And across to her teammate. Goes long. Inside 50. Bounce evaded. Morris Dalton. The clearance is good. Richardson's on the end of this footy.
It was Maddie Ford again, though, being really smart with the way she's cleared defence. Like, she's never rushed. She always makes the calm choice.
Goff goes up the line. Davidge kicked 2 goals in the opening quarter. Kick in the middle of Victoria Park. Remos trying to go out of midair. Not the best of options. Marnie swooping on the footy. Kick towards the pocket. Molan's going to have a bit of work to do. Pick up this footy. Well, again, just holding body position, not taking possession. Did that pretty well. They've done that well all day today, the Bombers.
The way they were able to recover there from the kick that came off the side of Davidge's boot into the centre of the ground, where it was all Pies initially, that recovery has been really good from the Bombers.
Yes, had that ruck all to herself. Haggard getting the handball out. Pies just clearing into space. Now some run coming from James. Looks up. Is just going to have to keep running this footy. Another bounce. Oh, taking on Robertson. Managed to get through. The kick is a good one. It's going to drop slightly short. Fowler's got it. Now puts it into the pocket. They've got the mark. It's Ingram who's got it this time.
Oh.
Kicks across the ground and Day will be on the end of it. Bit of loose checking there from the Bombers.
Yeah, and Caitlin Day again. She's been such a difference in this last quarter, hasn't she?
Kicked 1 goal in the third quarter and now has 1 in the final term. So what have we got? Under 5.5 minutes to go.
15 points in it.
3 goals, 3 quick goals. Will win it for them. Be a hell of a finish if that's
minutes.
The case. 3 and 5.
They've kicked 2 and 4. If they can get a quick one out of this centre clearance here, then I might be on board the comeback.
Okay. Well, Marnie now up to 18 disposals, leading all comers, Ruby Marnie, for Essendon today. Ramos and Sansonetti with 16. Also 16 for the captain of the Bombers, Al Chaston. I should mention Drew Ryan as well, has 16. Well, this now becomes so important for the Pies. The takeaway taken by Dyke. Marnie, 360 tackle. No call from the umpire. It was released. This may actually work for the Pies anyway, as Pearce goes inside 50. No mark taken. Ball off hands. Porter might have got one high. That's Collingwood's Porter. Robinson at the bottom of the pack for the Bombers. Desperately trying to get that ball out, and the umpire will finally call a stop.
Something that we've seen time and time again from the Bombers, though, they know how to just eke out a few more seconds from those stoppages, waste a few more seconds.
Running again, shot the handball out. The kick going long from Radford. This is how they're reading up the clock. As Pies have got numbers here. Tassiopoulos, great tackle, not rewarded. The crowd not happy. Here's Jordan, handball over the top. Richardson will just go with the long ball. Heading up towards the top of the goal square. Morecambe's got a couple to beat. Did well, managed to get that kick away, but it's smothered over the line. It's rushed through. Time continues to tick down, and the Bombers will be feeling pretty good about things now.
Absolutely they will. I know it's not a goal. A goal would have been nice, but at least now the ball resets from deep in their defence, and they can use their high-pressure game to just trap it in. Molan's gone back into defence. So Chaston's back there as well.
Lennox. There's a lot of red jumpers where that ball actually landed. And the Bombers just able to hold that position. Do it well. That's how you get the pushes in the back too, because your opponents are trying to get around you.
They are so strong, aren't they?
Lucas might have taken one high there. It's 3 minutes.
You can hear Tom Cashin say, I don't want stoppages, get it out.
Well, they're trying to. And you suspect the longer these stoppages go, the umpire might just pick one out just to get things moving.
Lily Pearce coming from the ground as well.
Repeat stoppages. Dyke is here. Radford. Turn the footy over. They've got to go the length of the ground, the Pies. Taylor. Long and wide. James. Here, Tom in the background saying, get on with it, Day, and they do. Well, it could potentially be dangerous. They need the overlap run. James is there, ran into a brick wall in the end, still managed to get this ball forwards.
Oh.
Mark almost there to Porter of Collingwood, right near the line. We'll have it tossed in, time ticking down, under 2 minutes now.
So this position here is where I want to see a ruck spiking it into space from Collingwood. On the move at stoppages, make something of this because there's less than 2 minutes left.
I suspect you're not the only one who's wanting that. Morris Dalton here in the ruck contest. Movement is right, but it's movement for Essendon. It's Dykes who picked up the footy. Set upon, the umpire will come in and toss this up. Minute 10 to go now. Dalton. That's around the neck. No call from the umpire. Okay, the whistle's been put away, has it? Well, the Bombers going to get some run going through. Richardson. This is vacant space.
Well
leave
done.
that too much of a vacant space. They might build a house on it. They're expensive around these parts. Ramsdale might have run with that line last year too with you, Gemma. That's all right. Didn't find it funny there either. As the kick from Cronin looking to go inside 50's been turned over again. Rock solid defence from the Bombers.
I was focused on Tom Cashin calling for Lucy Cronin, a noted key defender, to go full forward. So they're throwing everything at the wall here, the Pies.
Well, they've only got 30 seconds to do it, and just an experienced player. They'll just slow things down. 2-on-1 here in favour of Collingwood. It should be a free kick off the ball. Again, not called by the umpires. Richardson was being held, but now they might be able to sneak one themselves with 10 seconds on the clock. There's no one really forward. Goff's just come onto the ground. Going to be involved in a foot race. Might get on the end of this. Has got 3 seconds. Releases the footy. This would be the fantastic finish. Not the case. The siren goes anyway. A big win for the Bombers. And they've got a tough run coming up in terms of the teams that they're playing. So that was an important win today. But have a look at that. 10-4-64. Play 7-5-47, Gemma. A great performance for the Bombers.
Yeah, that game was unreal, and both teams had their moments of control for sure. The Bombers just looked more dangerous inside 50. That was the difference in the game, and their accuracy certainly helped them too. But both teams should be really proud with the way they played today, because